Energy, 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 energy. Fuck, who has energy? Who has energy, baby boy? High five. Yes, good job. That's a good boy. High five. Yeah, good boy. Oh, such a good boy. We have energy, don't we? We have energy to do things. Welcome to CC Writes. My name is CC Lepki, and today is my Marvel Brainstorming sequel. If you watched the last video in the series, then you know that I love comics and I wanted to try my hand at a Marvel movie script. Last week, I dabbled in Spider-Woman's origin story, but this week I'm finding out who she is as a person so that I'll know how her story flows. To keep your expectations limited, I decided to brainstorm prior to research with only the basic memories of Spider-Woman to help out. I'm doing it this way because it will help me look at the character and her circumstances with fresh eyes. I don't want to be fully locked onto any element in her previous story because I want her to be able to transcend the comics. So thank you for joining me in my writing adventures in imaginary places. Let's get started. Her character, I definitely want her to be maybe more on the shy, uncertain side because of the way people treat her, and I could also see like some dedication to Hydra since they're the ones who rescued her from the horrible situation that she was in, or at least from her perspective, it would be rescue until later on she starts to understand more about the organization and at first tries to lean into it, but eventually I could see her resenting it. So of course the story would follow along the time period from her discovery at the beginning. There's her timeline. So it'll be her discovery at the beginning. It'll skip some time until years later. She's fully trained as a Hydra agent. She's maybe starting to get a little disillusioned with everything. And then it will follow the story arc of her acting mercilessly as a Hydra agent up until the point where she decides to strike out on her own for independence. Now, I don't see independence making her a hero. I see her more as an anti-hero to begin with. Basically, up till this point, she's been controlled her whole life. And when she reaches this point, it would be more her sort of seeking who she is as a person apart from that control, which she can't get if she works with the regular heroes, like the Avengers, for instance. But there does need to be a point in time in which she's offered the chance to work with the Avengers, and maybe even a point in time in which she dallies in that to see if it works for her, and then realizes that she's just going into the same situation she was in before, where somebody else is controlling all of her actions, telling her what she needs to do, and she doesn't have the chance to decide whether or not it's right. And so from that point, she would make a new decision, start to feel more secure about herself as a person, and that would lead to her ultimate independence and striking out on her own. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's some sort of like magician or something that she encounters at some point. I don't quite remember though. I may need to do a little more research on that when I'm actually doing the plotting of the story. But I do know that the arc of the movie is going to be primarily a character arc, and sort of one that goes from innocence to adulthood. And adulthood means many things, so I think particularly it'll be innocence to sort of a cruel adulthood into an independent adulthood. And that actually makes a lot of sense to me with who she is and where she started out as. I kind of have this fun idea of like a suit for her that it's like airtight, although I don't want it to look too skin tight. I want it to be kind of a cool outfit. Maybe like a jacket or something. Basically, I hate all of the outfits that women get in stories like these where they have to be, super sexy or whatever. What I'd really like to see is if this character was a man, what would her outfit look like, or what would his outfit look like, and then adapt that outfit to a more feminine physique. And that's more along the lines of what I like to see in the attire of superheroes. So I'm thinking maybe more military type. Because the idea of the outfit is that she would, it would trap in all of the pheromones that she releases, and then she would have like the ability to control vents within the outfit, and the vents would release her pheromones so that she would have more control over her ability instead of what actually happens. I think though that it would be nice if she doesn't discover her actual ability until later on in the story. That maybe she doesn't know that she releases these pheromones and that's why everyone's afraid of her. I do know that she's supposed to have like enhanced strength, possibly speed as well. And so that may be what she thinks she has to begin with, not realizing that people are afraid of her not because she's a monster, which I think that's going to be a major trauma for her. So she's going to think that she's a monster because of her powers and that's why everyone's afraid of her, but it turns out that everyone's afraid of her because of the effect of one of her powers. So then later on she'll have to find a way to control it, and that's where she gets this outfit that helps her release her powers only on command. And I have this just image of like her walking down the street, and as she walks, the people around her like start to get scared and want to run away, and then seeing her watching this reaction happen as she's like actively using her abilities for the first time, and it makes her smile. Because I like the idea of her gaining this like control over her life and recognizing what she can do and actually enjoying the fact that she's able to do that. Because for the first time, she's not a monster. And this is good because it's given me a lot of themes that I'm going to be able to work with when I'm actually writing the story. I'm getting strong Kakashi vibes from this. Okay, so now that we have our hero... So because of the way the story develops, initially she's going to see the Avengers as the enemy, and they will then move to becoming characters that are seen as innocent. And the people that she initially sees as being her rescuers, the heroes, she's going to become disillusioned and actually recognize that they are, in fact, the enemy. But there has to be a catalyst for it. Like, you can't just have that happen out of nowhere, because oftentimes if we're raised in a particular way, even if we recognize the people that raised us as being evil people, we still only ever want to see them as the innocent people. We identify with them, we support their causes because that's what they've raised us to do, and in her case that will be exactly what she's been doing all along. So then there has to be something that pushes this character to reveal themselves as true evil. So because of that, we need a catalyst. For this character, that's particularly tricky because her whole life she's been used as a soldier. So she's used to, causing death and destruction wherever she goes. So it has to be something personal, something that feels like a betrayal. Now, typically in stories like this, we'll use romantic feelings as the catalyst. She loves somebody, she's ordered to kill them or something and doesn't want to. Or she finds out that her parents are still alive and it's been kept from her all this. Sometimes we use cliche because cliches actually work. There are certain story archetypes that people just really love and will watch no matter how many times they've seen it before. And this in particular is one of them. It's something that all of us can relate to, that strength of love that would have us basically destroy our entire world to protect. When a cliche delves into this territory, it's called being a universal theme. Something that no matter who you are, you can relate to this. But I don't like it. The reason I don't like it is that I have this entire storyline that's built around Spider-Woman's character arc. So if I have it to where the catalyst is based on love and a broken heart is what makes her realize that Hydra is evil, then unless I have it as an investigation that occurs over the course of the entire story, something like this would work. So the problem with this investigation is that if it occurs, then sure, around here she's going to be suspicious, but her actual character arc isn't going to happen until further on in the story. And that gives less time. And having a story arc that looks something along the lines of this, it just doesn't work. Plus, we have a story that's based on the idea of fear, and tacking love on top of that undermines the basis of her character. Plus, we also have a theme of self-acceptance. And with self-acceptance, if you're doing everything for the sake of your relationship with someone else, it tends to undermine a personal character arc, which we really need for this story to work. Well, so far I've come up with a few ideas that I can at the very least put on my basic plot structure. So I have the inciting incident, which is the discovery of her after 5 years of being imprisoned inside of the machine. I have her abilities realized halfway through the story. I have her full redemption, which is when the Avengers offer her a place and she initially accepts. And then I have the denial of the Avengers, which leads to self-acceptance in the end. So this is a really good place to start as far as plotting is concerned. Even if I don't have the exact events, I still have most of the ideas of what her choices are going to be as a person for these. So the crossing of the threshold, this is probably going to be the place where she initially starts to work against Hydra. Actually, this is going to be the hook. So this is, yeah, that's still the discovery of her. This is the inciting incident, which would be the betrayal. This is when she first decides to work against Hydra. Now, I did have the idea of her having a relationship through the story, because initially that is in her original story, and I kind of like the idea of having a lover within Hydra that she then has to betray later on. Now, during this whole part is when she's going to have a struggle with the world that she's a part of up until this moment. And this moment is when she finally gets her feet under her as she's breaking away from Hydra. There's such thing as a disavowed story, and I think that this might be the direction that I need to go. The betrayal that happens, because it ties in with Spider-Woman's deepest desire, because she thinks that she is a monster, and the basis of that is that if you're a monster, you don't fit in. So her greatest desire, because of how she feels about herself, is that she wants a place to belong. So the betrayal is that the place where she belongs is taken away from her. So even though up to this point she has felt as if she doesn't quite agree with everything that's going on around her, but she does it because it's the only place where she feels like she can fit in. So when you take that away, maybe she made a mistake, and because of that they disavow her, and because it's Hydra, of course, the thing that they're going to do is try and kill her, make sure that she isn't able to go over to the enemy, that sort of thing. She'll have to be on the run. So during this story, even though she doesn't agree with Hydra, even though she hates being a killer and used for those purposes, her greatest desire throughout the story is to return to Hydra so that she can achieve belonging. Now, I don't have the events of the story all set out. that's going to be done mostly through the research for the plot, which I'm going to do off screen and probably take a lot of notes for that. But this does give me a very good basis for the story. I think it gives me a strong motivator for the character and who she is as a person. I have a nice character design for her. So I think that I have plenty now that I should be able to finish my story, or at least get started on plotting the story based on what I have here, at least as far as her character arc. I really liked the final outfit design for this character. I know that in the comic she has a lot more powers than what I've given her here, but for now I'm just going to leave it here until I have a chance to do more research. Would you have stuck with the classic Spider-Woman suit, or would you have created a new one like me? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll know when the next video comes out. If you'd like to support my work, you can find my books on Amazon.com. You can also consider supporting me on the CC Writes Patreon page. There are links in the description below. And thank you for joining me today on CC Writes. I hope you enjoyed our time together. See you later.